Yes, Shruti, start. 3, 2, 1.
Bilal sir.
Yes, so good evening, everyone, one and all present over here. My name is Bilal Shishgar, representing marketing team at Center Pharmaceuticals. Before we start, I just hope and I pray that everyone is safe and will be safe in near future, and so as the family will be. And I'm sure we will surpass this hard time um, together, like we always do. So once again, I welcome all of you for this wonderful initiative to share knowledge for medical accreditation. And we welcome here our most valuable medical fraternity present with us today for this program. And we really thank you to show your gracious presence. This program is one of its kind coming from Sandoz Pharmaceuticals and definitely will have more such events in near future. So we would like specially thank Mr. Dr. Balchandra Kalmik sir for offering this wonderful opportunity to conduct this meeting. And with not taking much more time, I will introduce Dr. Kalmik. So Dr. Kalmik is basically consultant psychiatrist. He is working in Inman Psychiatric Nursing Rehabilitation and De-Addiction Center at Pune. He has been an ex-honorable treasurer and secretary of IPS in Pune branch. So Dr. Kalmik has worked in Masina Hospital, KEM Hospital as a in Department of Psychiatry in Mumbai, and KEM and Department of Psychiatry and SKNMC in Pune. So apart from working as a clinical practice, he has also been an advisor for Mental Health Awareness Forum. So not only that, Dr. Kalmik has actively participated and presented papers in annual national conferences of Indian Psychiatric Society. So two international papers publication has been privilegedly done by Dr. Kalmik on MDD in Hindwani and Asian Journal of Psychiatry. Apart from that, he has got a chief editor position for book MHCA 2017, Together We Can. Not only that, Kalmik sir has also been an active member of Indian Psychiatric Society, Pune Psychiatric Society, All India Association of Private Psychiatrists, American Association of Psychiatry, Indian Sexology Association, charter member of Rotary Club of Addiction Prevention, and he has been actively as a founder member of SMART and many more organizations. So now, last but not the least, he has also been actively participated in local level, state level, zonal level, CMEs and conferences for continuous medical accreditation of fellow and as an organizing committee member. So I welcome Dr. Balchandra Kalmik. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Bilal. Welcome once again to monthly webinar series of Sati Hath Badhana. This is the program done by PPA and IPS Pune branch. Today we have an interesting topic to discuss, that is Jeevanachi Sandakha. That means psychiatric illness in old age. We all know that geriatric population is increasing in India, so their health, both physical and mental, is concern to all. Today, here we will discuss about mental health of this population. For these sessions, we have two eminent speakers. First session will be conducted by Ninad Baste and second will be conducted by Dr. Amar Shinde. Please show the PPTs. First speaker is Dr. Ninad Baste. He is our good friend, MBBS MD Psychiatry, associated with Mansa Clinic and AIMS Hospital, Pune. Past president of our own Indian Psychiatric Society, IPS Pune branch. He has rich experience of 14 years in the field of psychiatry, completed his MBBS from Nashik, and done his MD Psychiatry from KEM Hospital, Mumbai. Work as postgraduate guide and associate professor in SKNMC Hospital, Pune. His special area of interest is, of course, neurocognitive medicine, sexual medicine, and personal counseling. He has worked on editorial board of Annals of Indian Psychiatric Society, a journal, official journal of West Zone. Delivered talk on internet gambling. Express his view on World Alzheimer's Day in renowned papers. Member of Indian Psychiatric Society, Pune Psychiatric Association, and Central Psychiatric Association. He has been faculty for various conferences and a part of organizing committee of some conferences held in Pune. Over to you, Ninad.
Thank you, Bhalchandra. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir, you're audible.
Okay. So to begin with, I would first like to thank Centaur Pharma for providing this platform for all the attendees. It's a great initiative that you all have started. It's a pleasure to be here on the same platform with Dr. Amar Shinde. I would say it's an honor to be here with him. He's been one of the pioneers who started working in the field of dementia in Pune, or I would rather say even Maharashtra. And to present before him, I think it's going to be a bit difficult task. But what me and Dr. Amar have decided is that we both will segregate. I would like to present an overview about the mental health, the need for mental health awareness in the elderly. The way we would like to go ahead is try and look at the Indian scenario of the geriatric population, what is so special about it, and look as to their needs, their perceptions, and have an idea about the problems that we are dealing with, that I think is just the tip of the iceberg that we are aware of today. And from here on, Amar will take over presenting about the mental health disorders that we commonly see in the geriatric population. So this year, 2021, marks a transition zone for India as far as it is concerned with the geriatric population. If you look on the screen, 2001, India had an elderly population of about 7.4% of its total population. In the next 5 years, by 2026, this is projected to literally reach up to 12.4%. And today, 2021, we are at around 140 million elder people. Now, elder people here is defined as those who are aged 60 years or above. And it's a huge number when you look in terms of, when you look at the volume of people that we are dealing with. Now, in the Indian scenario, most of these people, around 80% of them, live in the rural areas, and in the elderly population, the relative ratio of females is much higher than males. And this skew of gender distribution and the proportion of elders in the Indian population is projected to increase over the next decades. What has been said is that from year onwards, 2021 onwards, we will be adding on now to the elder population every 5 years. And by the year 2050, the Indian population will hit its peak. It will be growing till then. And from 2050, we will reach a transition zone when the population growth will start declining. And from there onwards, what the population pyramid will be is that the proportion of elderlies will start increasing as compared to the younger population. A scenario that we now see in the Western world, and countries like Japan. But from here till then, what we do now see is that relatively the proportion of the elderly is going to increase every 5 years, and the next few decades will start presenting the challenges of dealing with it. it's only in the year 1999, or let's say at the start of this century, 2 decades ago, that we had a national policy in the year 1999, which was a committee was framed, and they started studying on what basis these elder population, on how to frame the policies for the elderly. And there is still a lot of work to be done. So the elder population in India assumes certain specialities. Like I was saying, most of them stay in the rural areas. As of today, 80% of the population. Most are illiterate, around 60% of the population, or semi-literate. Now, these are people in whom financial independence is lacking. What has been found in this census of 2001 is around 13.8% of the people were dependent. And now this is supposed to be increasing. Now, if you look at it, they are all dependent on the younger generations. And as the age dependency ratios increase, the burdens will pass on for financial assistance and providing for them onto the younger generation. And the way we see the transit happening in the family structures, in the social mobilities that are taking place with the younger generations moving out, the support systems are already getting weak. This is coupled with the lack of any government-aided healthcare which is directed towards the elderly, which is still minimal. And as this population is aging, as the medical comorbidities are high, we still lack access to medical insurance. They still lack access to medical insurance, and thereby increasing their financial dependencies. So with this background, the next few slides will try to focus on what are the problems that these people face from their perceptions or from their views. Now, these few slides that I now speak of, prepared for the World Health Organization. It was a study done across India, wherein elderly people, both across the economic strata, were interviewed, and based on their perceptions and based on the hierarchy or their priorities, let us try and see what are the problems that these people face. Like I was already highlighting when we were discussing the socio-demographic profile of the geriatric population in India, the most common problem that these people face is economic. We have to look at it that many people move out of the retirement, move out of the working age at the age of 60. They do not have pensions. They do not have social gratuities. Economic support that is available from the state governments or Indian governments is peanuts. Today, while I was trying to look into the aid available, it's hardly around 750 rupees a month, which covers for nothing. So this economic hardships translate into a whole lot of problems down the spectrum as we see the next problems, and they amplify the other problems that they face. The second problem that this population faces, or from their perception, what they report, is they perceive a lack of emotional support. To phrase the words from the study or the report of the WHO, they felt a need to talk to their family, and it seemed the family did not have time for them. Now, here what we do see is India traditionally had a family unit, which was an extended family, joint families, which has broken down to nuclear families. And in the nuclear families, where they are staying with their children, what we do see is that both the most of the places, the husband and wife or the providers are earning. So it is the elderly who are left at home to fend for themselves. There is minimum talk or interactions within the family. And this report of perceived lack of emotional support is not only from the lower socioeconomic strata of the people that were sampled, but also from the upper and middle socioeconomic stratas. When it came to the upper and the middle economic stratas, the next problem equivalent to this that they had reported, surprisingly, was mental health problems. They reported a lack of purpose and a lack of work. Now, these are people who have moved out from active productive lives and into a vacuum where they have time, but they have nothing to do and no overall purpose. There is a general feeling of loneliness and a feeling as if they are talking to walls. They being left alone in the house. And the problem here did not seem to be lack of money, but lack of time by the others for the older person, is what the author goes on to say. So this loneliness is something that has been given rise to mental health issues. Dr. Amar will be focusing on them. Again, we have heard of the emptiness syndrome since a long time, and psychiatrists like me, Dr. Amar, Dr. Bhalchandra, who work in the urban areas, where, especially in cities like Pune, where we have a significant proportion of individuals who work in the technology industry, where people migrate out of India for work, and it is the parents who are staying behind, left alone. The next issue after the mental health problems that was reported by them was health problems. In this health problems, their primary concerns were their physical disabilities and the dependencies for their mobility on others, and a lack of an infrastructure or an environment which enabled them to be mobile. Another thing which now was reported here and was significant is that, because they are now dependent on their mobilities, they lack a financial independence, and they are again dependent financially on the younger generations. Most of these people, they tend to underplay their health problems for the sole reason of causing inconvenience to other family members by way of them having to escort them to the doctors or having to spend money on them for consultation fees, medicines, investigations. So they have their perception that they are being a burden on the younger generation, that a feeling somewhere that probably we are no more wanted. And that contributes to them not being vocal about their health needs. And this is something which is a matter of concern and which we should be aware of. Now, if we just try to look back about about the socio-demographic presentations that I made, you will now see multiple layers that are playing out over here. It is the females who are more the gender predominance in this age bracket of the elderlies. As we know, most of the females that are there today, they have always been working housewives. They have been financially dependent on their husbands. They never had any financial securities in the name of having any tangible assets in their names. And now they are dependent on their children or significant others in the family without any say in the finances. And these are the ones who are being primarily marginalized. And again, it is more commonly reported in people who come from the rural areas. Now, a funny thing that came up even while I was researching or preparing for this presentation is there are complaints about accommodation. This was another perception which was a problem for them. Now, accommodation here, when they started reporting, it was quite common being in the rural background, lack of personal space, having to stay in crowded houses. In the urban areas, the lower middle income groups reporting about again having crowded places, lack of access to recreational facilities or walking grounds. And another thing that came up across is that the elderly people, they had been split upon. Some staying, one of the couple, one staying with a set of children and the other staying with the other set of children, so as to help them carry on with their professional lives. So they have been parted in the eve of their life. I don't want to be gender biased, but this is coming from their perceptions. Another perception that they reported as a problem for them was a lack of understanding or caring from the daughter-in-laws. Now, again, if you put this into the perspective that it is the son who is the bread earner in the family, and the power centers around there, again, this assumes significance. This combines with the next thing that they reported is they have no defined roles now. You know, they have been working all their life. For the male population, they have now entered into retirements. And in the retirement years, they have no goals most of the times, which makes them lonely. Across the socioeconomic strata, for the lower or the rural stratas, their thing was that because of lack of financial dependence, they still had to continue to work, assist the younger generation and doing menial jobs that were being told to them. They were no more their significant contributors in the decision-making process. As far as it was with the middle income groups, it was that they are retired, they may have their financial independence, but there are no responsibilities for them defined. And for the upper income, it was mostly empty walls, nothing to do, a lot of time at hand. Again, for the female population, they were the ones who were running the household. And now they have been transitioned where the daughter-in-laws have taken over the household duties, and things have been changing in the house where they have minimal says and roles, leading to a sense of isolation, a sense of loss of identity. And this was what they had reported. Because there are no roles defined for them, no purposes, that is associated with a sense of loss of identity that is commonly reported. And all these then streamline into a perceived sense of abuse and maltreatment. And also a reality with them reporting being treated rudely, neglected, the generations having difficulty adjusting with each other, and especially in the rural areas or where it was concerned with the female genders, their primary concerns come from economic dispossession, wherein after the death of the husband, they have no economic securities around them. And virtually across the entire communities, in all the groups that were interviewed, what everyone believed was that there was a lack of value system and a negative attitude of the younger generation that was the obvious cause for maltreatment in the present day scenarios. And mind you, this study, I'll be sharing the resources at the end of this presentation, is just in 2016, 5 years old, done across the length and breadth of the nation, and a sampling which involved all the stratas of the society. So it's been an eye-opener to most of us present here about how the elders are perceiving us. So with this background, what I would like to now focus on is this is a population whose needs are unrecognized, understudied. The mental health burden in this population needs to be studied aggressively and addressed. Efforts are being made, but they are still less. And two studies which I would like to highlight at the end, I'll be providing the resources again. You know, what has been seen in these studies, the depth study, is that around 50% of individuals with hypertension and type 2 diabetes mellitus have undiagnosed or unrecognized depression and anxiety, which has contributed significantly to mortality and morbidity. Now, this is a study which has been done in India, and also a similar study replicated in China, and another study under publication replicated in Europe. All of them have similar findings where the figures differ between 46% to 52%. I have averaged it out to 50%. But now if you look, we would all agree that, you know, everybody above the age of 60, sometime or the other, has either hypertension or diabetes or both. So if we just look at the figure for 2021, 140 million people in the elder group having diabetes or hypertension or both. 50%, that is around 70 million people out there, have clinical depressions and anxieties which are not recognized and which are contributing to their morbidities and mortalities. And to top it off, when we look at it, these are the people who have no access to the healthcare systems, who underreport their health needs, and are financially dependent on others for taking care of their health. So if you look, it's a picture where we all need to be alert, not to say the least alarm, and make our efforts to address the health concerns, especially the mental health concerns of this population. From here, Dr. Amar would take us on a journey to try and help understand what are the various common disorders that exist in this population and how to diagnose them and how we can manage them. So for the presentation, these are the resources that I have put up over here. Situational analysis of the elderly. This is a Government of India report of 2011. This is the World Health Organization report prepared by Shubha Soneja, a beautiful report which people can actually read to understand the elder perceptions. And the last two are the papers that I said. If we can extrapolate that data, we can understand what we are dealing with. Thank you. Over to you, Bhalchandra.
Yeah, thank you, Ninad sir. It was very eye-opening presentation. The magnitude of psychiatric illness and overall problems in the geriatric population. So after this, we will go to the next session, which will be by Dr. Amar Shinde. Shruti, please project this slide. Yes. Dr. Amar Shinde, very good friend of us, very lovely person. admired by all the psychiatrists and all mental health professions. He is MBBS, DPM, MD Psychiatry from BJ Medical College, Pune. He is serving as consultant psychiatrist at Noble Hospital, Pune. He has a rich experience of 19 years plus experience in psychiatry. Apart from this, he has worked as a lecturer in BJ Medical College. He was a senior psychiatrist at Mental Hospital, Erwada, Pune. He is the founder of Jagruti Rehabilitation Center, which is the pioneer institute for dementia care in Maharashtra as well as in India. He has expressed his view in an article titled Pune Rising Cases of the Drugs in Indian Express in 2016. He is a member of Indian Psychiatric Society, Indian Association of Private Psychiatry, specializing in dementia treatment and care, Alzheimer dementia, de-addiction, schizophrenia treatment, drug abuse, and de-addiction therapy. So, over to you, Dr. Amar.
Okay, I'll share the screen. Thanks, Valchandra, for nice introduction. And I congratulate you and all PPA and IPS Pune branch for organizing this program. It is a wonderful program and having a lot of speakers coming regularly every fourth Friday. Can you see my screen?
Yes. For a
1 minute.
Yes, it is visible. It is visible. Please
Yes. Now?
Yes, perfect.
It was a great presentation. It was a great presentation by Dr. Ninad. He is having in-depth knowledge of dementia care and whatever required for the geriatric population. So we are running these dementia care centers in Pune and other cities. So we'll discuss today on common mental disorders in old age. So as the population of India is growing on, mental disorders of aging, we can go through 4 facts. There is a dramatic recent and projected growth. A lot of patients are coming with mental disorder in the old age. And it is causing major impact in the health outcomes, the services, and the cost of the treatment also. We know treatment works. As already Dr. Ninad said, there is treatment, but many elders are unable to find the treatment and they are having very difficulty, and effective services are not reaching those who are needed. And also there is alarming underinvestment in the knowledge dissemination, service, and other things in this dementia or geriatric care. If we think growth in older adults with mental illness, there is a huge growth. As already Dr. Ninad said, there is a lot of projection. The population above age of 65 and older will increase. And older illness, with this increase in the population, there is a definite increase in the mental illnesses in the older people. And that will be causing a lot of problems for treating people as well as family members, as well as these old people. So we'll discuss today what is this mental disorder. We can say it has a silent epidemic. Epidemic is going on. We already we talk about COVID epidemic, we talk about all other illnesses, viral epidemics, but mental disorder in older adults, it is a slow growing epidemic, and sooner it will be a big problem for our country. So what are the mental illnesses? We can go through simple differentiation between these illnesses. One of the main illnesses is dementia. Usually, if we think the dementia, Alzheimer dementia above 65 years of age, 1% of population are having Alzheimer illnesses. And as the age grows, like 75 years of age, the population will be around 20%. 85 years of age, the population about 50% of people will be having dementia. There are various types of dementia like Alzheimer dementia, frontotemporal dementia, vascular dementia, other memory disorders are also there. There are a lot of degenerative brain disorders also, and Parkinsonism also. So these brain related illnesses also cause a lot of mental instability in the people. What are the causes of this Alzheimer dementia or frontotemporal dementia? Usually, largely the cause is not known. Currently, a lot of scientists are working on that, but majority genetic pattern is found in the dementia. The vascular dementia is because of the stroke, paralysis, or any type of injury to the brain. Also, there are many types of dementia associated with hypoxia and also with the head injuries and other memory disorders like alcohol disorder, etc. The major impact in the elderly is depression. Depression is largely ignored. Many times these people are not also interviewed by the people, and even in the family sometimes they are taken for granted. They are having depressed, no, the person is older, so there might be some depression. But we have to think for the real thing in these patients, whether they are having continuously depressed mood. If the person is having continuously depressed for 2 weeks or more, we can say the person has depression. Also, we can find there is a loss of interest. They usually ignore food, they ignore people, they start living isolation. Also, a lot of hopelessness is there. Also, they feel my life is worthless, and helplessness is also there. So these are the predominant symptoms of depression. Usually, if we find what are the causes of depression, so many times we discuss if there is a stress, there will be depression. But stress is definitely one of the reason. But sometimes depression can come without stress also. That also we have to understand. Many people usually advise them, why are you frustrated? Why are you depressed? You don't have, there is no problem. Your son is settled, your daughter is settled. Why you are in depression? But in these things, we have to understand that depression sometimes come without stress also. And if we find this type of symptoms, the person should go to the psychiatrist or psychologist. At least counseling and medications, if required, should be started. Another major problem is sleep disturbances. Many times, if we talk with the older people, usually they wake up early, around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, some people at 4 o'clock, and the sleep slowly goes down. They usually sleep 4 to 5 hours, and that is one of the major and common issue. The sleep disturbances may cause restlessness, irritability in the day. So this is also one of the problem we need to address in the elderly population. Anxiety disorders are also common. They are always having worrying thoughts, fear of illness. Especially in COVID-19, there are a lot of people coming up with the fear of illness, fear of getting COVID also. We can say it as a COVID-19 phobia, and obsessive compulsive disorders in the older people. The major problem in the older people is treating the patients. Treating these patients are very difficult sometimes, because even a small quantity of the medicines can cause a problem in their life. This fear of illness is like fear of cancer. Some older people, they fear if anybody of their friend dies because of the cancer or heart attack, they start feeling, yeah, I'm having this illness. And they always go to the doctors. Sometimes they go to repeatedly to various doctors. Yeah, I'm having this problem, and you have to find out. In COVID-19, there was a lot of problem for this old age, and specifically this dementia, depression. These symptoms are started. The people who are not having depression or dementia or any mental illness before COVID, they started getting this problem. Many times because of the separation, because of the less communication, a lot of problems are there in the COVID-19 patients. Also, obsessive compulsive disorders are also common in these old people. Other category, we can say severe mental illnesses, or we can simply say they are psychotic illnesses. the most important is called as senile psychosis. In this patient, people are having hallucinations. Means sometimes they hear voices if anybody is not around. Also, sometimes there are visual hallucinations that are more common in the elderly. Visual means they see the images, they see the people coming, they talk to the people sometimes. And delusions. Delusions means abnormal thoughts. Sometimes in these older people, they are having somatic delusion. Something is running on my body. Sometimes they continuously do the itching and violent behaviors. So usually the people are brought with the patient is violent, but we have to understand what is the problem, why is getting irritable, is there any psychotic illness or is there any depressive symptoms or what problem they have. So that we have to understand, and after that only we have to diagnose this patient is having psychosis or any other problem. Many times, this hallucination or senile psychosis, they can be hallmark of any organic condition, like they are more present in the dementia also, or sometimes they are also present in the Parkinsonism. So we have to understand whether these problems are having organic onset. The next problems are addictions. The addiction usually carried in the old age, particularly in this addiction, there is a problem of treating them. Like if a person with alcohol dependence, if the person is 72 years or 75 years of age, they land in the severe withdrawal. And sometimes it can be a life-threatening condition. Sometimes they are very difficult to treat. This tobacco and other problems, they can cause their fibrosis in the mouth, and because of smoking the lung capacity is going down. Also cannabis dependence and other addictions are also found in the old people, and we found older people are very difficult to treat. Depression usually associated with the worst health outcomes. Like already Dr. Ninath said, there are medical condition, people are worried of the medical condition. And if person is in depression, like if person is having hip fracture or myocardial infarction or any other things, they will have poor outcomes in this if they are having depression. And we have seen a lot of people, like they are having joint replacement, like they both knees are replaced, but they started feeling they go in the depression and they will not use them, they will be bedridden continuously, and the outcomes are very difficult. Sometimes that may be their last. So depression is so important, we have to treat carefully. Also, there are increased mortality rates in the myocardial infarction or long-term care residents. Sometimes in the dementia care setups or any long-term facility, if the people are there, they are also having depressive symptoms that impact their health. They are fighting to the any infection, their appetite, their activities. That's why we have to identify depression early and treat accordingly. In cancer and similar conditions also, sometimes they can cause increased hospitalization and poor physical function, poorer quality of life, and worse control of pain. Means any medical condition with this psychological or depressive symptoms, person will land in the further conditions. Suicides are also common in the old people. If we say above 65, highest suicide rate of any age group, and above 85, it is around 2 times the national average. So suicide is also important in the older people. Sometimes this is easily preventable condition, but the identification in such condition is most important. Suicide rate goes up continuously for men and peaks at midlife for women, then declines. And 1/3 of the older men saw their primary care physician in the week before completing suicide. Means sometimes they go to the doctors, they visit the people around, and we can get some indications that they are having some suicidal thoughts going on. The suicide, another thing is depression is one of the reason for suicide. Other things are medical conditions like bedridden conditions and other intractable diseases. This is another reason for suicide in older adults. If we see the chart, above 85, it is almost double the younger populations. The older population, the 12.7% of population, but the suicides are more, like 18.8% of suicides. So, in summary, mental disorders are common medical conditions in the older people, and they are associated with the worst health outcomes. Also, it is the one of the main reason for greater use and cost of medications, and also hospitalization and repeated medical visits and emergency visits. Also, they are causing a lot of effects in the medical conditions like bedridden patients, fractures, cardiac patients, diabetic patients. They are having more problems. Severe mental illnesses in older adults is rapid growth is projected, and lack of community living skill associated with nursing home and high cost of services, lack of rehabilitation intervention, and high medical comorbidity and poor health care. This is one of the reasons in the future the older people will go through a lot of problematic things. There are, as Dr. Nirad already said, there are unmet need for community treatment. There are less than 3% of older adults receiving outpatient mental health treatment by specialty mental health provider. Means among 100 people, only 3% of people are going to the doctors or mental health care specialists. Only 1/3 of the older person who live in the community and who needs in the mental health services receive them. So we have to increase the awareness in the people about the mental disorder in the old age. Sometimes they are neglected, and we have to educate our population, community, and we have to fight for it. There is also poor quality of care in older person with the mental disorders. There is increased risk of inappropriate medications and treatment. Even if in the COVID situation, we can see the older populations are receiving the similar medications like the younger population. They are causing a lot of problems like delirium. So we have to formalize some medical plans also. Also, there is a use of psychotherapy and counseling also less. So we have to increase that also, and also lower quality of general health care and associated increased mortality. If the person is not getting proper care, the mortality rate will be difficult. This is an important problem like inadequate workforce for trained geriatric mental health providers. Means there are even we are struggling with a lot of staff problems. Many people are not interested to work, and trained geriatric setups are trained geriatric people are not around. So above all, now is the time to alleviate the suffering of old people with mental disorders and to prepare for the growing numbers of elders who may need mental health service. So those who are here, we have to prepare for the future. Yeah, how we can deal with this elder population. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Amar, for your lucid presentation. You have almost given the whole whole summary of the geriatric psychiatric illness. Now we can go for the question answer session. Ninad sir and Amar sir. Okay. First question, how it is different to address psychiatric problem or mental health issues in geriatric population as compared to general population? And how will you differentiate the psychiatric illnesses or mental illness in geriatric population than the general population or adult population?
Amar sir?
Yeah, sometimes geriatric population, usually there are multiple problems like communication difficulty. Sometimes there is a hearing impairment or visual impairment or multiple problems are there. So that's why the identifying the geriatric population with mental disorders are sometimes very difficult. And we have to properly take the history, and after examining, we can understand the medical condition. Also, they are having general medical conditions like diabetes, hypertension, other illnesses, and that are also interfering in this mental health problems. Also, somatic symptoms are more in the older populations, And we have to differentiate whether this pain is coming from the organic problems or from functional things. Ninad, your opinion?
I agree with you completely. That pain in hearing, vision, it makes history-taking challenge. Communication becomes a challenge with these people. And although the illnesses, anxiety, depression, everything remains common as far as the elder population, but presentations can differ in the elder people. They will not be forthcoming with anxieties, but what I have seen is non-compliance to treatment, giving up on medicines, irregular on follow-ups. These can be the early features of depression, which the general practitioners or physicians need to be aware of. Secondly, diagnosing anxiety, panic attacks, especially when they have cardiac illnesses, these things become tricky. Like Dr. Amar said that, again, differentiating somatic symptoms. So I think in the elder population, liaising with physicians and a teamwork is much more important than in the general adult population.
Okay. Thank you, both of you. This question is for Dr. Amar. What are the special needs for geriatric population at our geriatric centers? How geriatric hospitals are different from general hospital or general psychiatric nursing home?
Yeah, there is a lot of difference between the general hospitals and geriatric setups. The majority in the general hospital or general psychiatric patients, usually if we, many people are independent. In the geriatric setup, they are dependent on others for even medical health, their routine feeding and other conditions also. Basically, we have run a COVID center also, last month. And in that, older patients specifically, we admitted older patient with the COVID positive status. And the similar patients, whenever they go in the general hospital and at our setup, usually the treatment pattern and the medical use like IV lines, injectables, it is absolutely different. Sometimes they are unable to take the medications, or some people are, we treated without IV antibiotics, or we treated them with the oral things also. So in these older people, they are very difficult sometimes. Deliriums are common, interfering with our treatment pattern. Sometimes they got delirious, disoriented. Sometimes they are having other problems like fractures, falls. So we have to always do the prevention techniques, how to prevent the falls. The major geriatric problems, death in the geriatrics are fractures, falls, aspirations, abdominal problems. Sometimes they are having obstruction and they are unable to tell us what is the problem. So we have to identify whether the person is having obstruction or any other problem. So there is a lot of challenge between normal psychiatric or general hospital and geriatric setup. Yes.
Thank you, Amar. So I think like pediatric hospital, we need more care in geriatric population.
Yes, yes.
लहान मुलांसारखं सांभाळावं लागते. Nina, this question is for you. Please give some tips to identify early signs and symptoms of dementia.
I couldn't hear you.
Please give some tips to identify early signs and symptoms of dementia.
Okay, a good question. So first of all, I would say it's all about being very much alert. Anyone presenting to the OPD after the age of 60 years, even when you are making a diagnosis of depression, anxiety, psychosis, any classical psychiatric illnesses which are coming for the first time after the age of 60, we should be alert whether we are looking at one of the earliest presentations of dementia, and we should be monitoring it on a regular basis. Usually, it is frontotemporal dementias or the behavioral variants which are tricky to diagnose. because they will present with very early features of behavioral changes, aggressions, irritabilities, which are not common, obsessive features, uh, commonly complaints of genitourinary systems, frequent urinations, frequent GI upsets, going all over the place to multiple specialists, having no diagnosis. So any late onset OCD with these features, then people who have had recent stroke with now complaining of behavioral disturbances or difficulties in remembering things. So these are certain of the atypical features which they can present. And of course, if we are looking at the typical Alzheimer's, then you have earliest of things about forgetting significant things. It's a bit tricky in these early phases to differentiate between normal age-related cognitive impairments and forgetfulnesses. But anytime somebody starts complaining that it is impairing with their daily functioning, then one needs to be alert and pick up the diagnosis.
Thank you. There is one more question for you, Nina. Many patients are taken care at home only. So what are the non-pharmacological management apart from pharmacological management for dementia patients?
At home, non-pharmacological managements. So basically, it should focus mostly on enabling mobility, nutrition, and preventing any infective complications. So with this background, what I would say is encouraging them to walk, having a physiotherapist come in regularly so as to ensure that their physical agilities are maintained. Then maintaining a good nutrition, monitoring it regularly. These two things can prevent a lot of complications down the line. So these are preventive things that we can take care of. Also taking care of household setups so as to prevent falls and complications that Amar was mentioning a while ago in his presentations. And as far as any cognitive interventions that can be done at that point in time are trying reminiscence therapies, musical therapies, trying to get them as much involved in daily activities that are happening, getting them interactive with the family, extended families. These are some things which can help with cognitions. Having music being played around, that is something that I have always found helps. And for behavioral agitations and aggressions, it is usually when the aggressions manifest, being very patient with them, playing along with them, not contradicting to their beliefs. Like I have seen a few people who wake up in the morning believing that their son is their husband. The next day, the son is the grandchild. So the relations change. Understanding these nitty-gritties and playing along with them, not trying to contradict and explain things to them, making them further agitated. So having a sound understanding of these things, these small things can work.
Okay. Thank you, Ninad sir. Next question is to Amar sir. How safe it to use psychotropic drugs in elder population?
Okay. For elder population,
How safe are?
how safe? Okay. For usually after a long experience, in older population, usually the psychotropic drugs should be used with a caution. Many times these drugs can be avoided. As already Dr. Ninad said, the non-pharmacological treatments are also very much important. Like simply, if we say patient is having sleep disturbances, so rather than starting with the psychotropic drugs or benzodiazepine or any medications, if we see what is the problem, sometimes these older people are habit of having a lot of water drinking. So drink water excessively. So we have to restrict their water drinking in the evening. We have to stop after 7 p.m. You should stop the water or any liquid use. So after that, many times their sleep gets stabilized. So we have to use non-pharmacological things more. The psychotropic drugs are rarely used. Sometimes if the patient is getting violent or unmanageable, then we can use, but we have to use with the as and when required. We can start it, we can stop it, start and stop. So this is the best method for the psychotropic drugs.
Yes. Thank
And
you, doctor.
major side effects are like falls, aspirations, and these are the major problem. Difficulty in swallowing. So these are the problem with the psychotropics.
Dr. Samir, he's from Ranchi. He's asking that one of my patient need independency. So he moved to the old age home. His son developed depression due to social bullying now. Patient is very stubborn. Now how to tackle the situation?
Oh, this is a reverse question, reverse problem. So many times the older are getting depressed, and in this case, it is absolutely and yeah, it is absolutely true. Sometimes we observe if one family member admitting the patient, patient is having problem because the patient used to stay with the patient person. And after a few days, other family members come. They are from outside other cities, and they start fighting. Why you kept him in the old age home, or why you kept him in the dementia care? But exact problem they don't know. And sometimes this type of social bullying, social pressurization is more common. But in this case, if the person, the old people, he is not having dementia, is a normal person, and he is willingly went to the old age home. Sometimes many people willingly go because they don't want to get burden on their children. So if he went willingly, then there is no problem. We have to respect the older person's thinking. Whatever he asks us, we have to respect their thoughts. So I don't think we have to counsel him properly. If he's willingly went there, there is no problem. And other family members also should meet the older person so that the stigma and other things will go down.
Yeah, thank you, Amar sir. Ninad, I remember that you usually talk about Shravan Bar syndrome. So what is that Shravan Bar syndrome? Can you elaborate it more?
It's like most of the times when the dependency levels are high, it's difficult to manage them at home. They know that they need specialized care, the elderly people, especially with dementia. And they are in a tussle between sending them to a elder care unit or keeping that at home. It's that sense of responsibility that we have been inculcated from the story of Shravan, who's taken care of his parents, walked all the way around. In the process, they end up burdening themselves, and yes, they're doing it, but I feel then somewhere the cares get hampered. That's what I always feel, that guilt that comes about transitioning from home-based care to an institution-based care. That's what I anecdotally call as the Shravan Bar syndrome. It's just like, parents have to send the child to the first day of school. So when they're transitioning from home to this, it's like sending off an elder child to the school again, to the hostel.
So it's more about acceptance of the situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is sometimes very much difficult decision for the family members to keep the person in the older home, and that's why sometimes the care of the patient is going down. So that is a problem with this.
Yes.
Miss Renuka is asking that my father is in his 60s and he was recently stopped working due to COVID situation. He used to be active all the time and has suffered from depression in the past. Currently, I have noticed him getting irritable, anxious, and feeling hopeless. So, how to go ahead and how to console him?
Yeah,
Ninad or Amar, anyone can answer.
isolation is one of the problem for the older people, and currently a lot of new diagnosis for this depression and dementia is coming. So usually with proper precautions, they have to, communication is the key for this patient. The person should be in the home, or other people should talk with them. Communication. Second thing will be the exercises, walking, their scheduling. Schedule is also disturbed. Usually in the lockdown period, everybody's schedule is disturbed. The waking time, sleeping time is disturbed. So scheduling, planning, goal setting, these small targets, if we keep for such patient, then definitely there is improvement in their depression and other symptoms. Yes, Ninad,
There
what
is
is your
one
comment?
more question related to depression, that how to tackle depression of menopause or andropause.
Ninad.
Or Ninat can answer it.
It's menopausal or andropausal depression. I think if it is menopausal, then we need to work in team with a gynecologist. If we can offer hormonal replacement treatments over there. Andropause is something that is very difficult. Means this concept of andropause itself is debated, whether people do go, and it is a very late thing. But if it is there, depression comes, it's like any other depression that we will treat.
Okay. There are many questions related to depression due to COVID situation. Most of them are repetitions. Then one more question is.
Okay, BK. Can I ask?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So.
Yes.
There is a recent study published, paper actually, not a study, in January this year. It's about the situation of the elderly in the COVID pandemic. And they have done an interview, random interview of about 5,000 people across India. That was there in the database. This is a paper published by HelpAge India. It's a nice paper to understand why depressions and anxieties are prevalent in the elderly in this pandemic time. If anybody wants, they can just search for it on the net. But to summarize it, most of the people who are experiencing anxiety and depression is primarily because of uncertainties that are prevailing about access to medical health care, about the impact of it on their finances, about who would be their primary caregivers if something happens to them, about the isolations that if they were to be isolated away from the family, how would they be in touch? Small things. So I think if you are dealing with someone with depression in this scenario, talk to them, try and figure out what is making them anxious. That will give us a clue as to how to approach it. But that paper is wonderful.
Yes. Thank you. There is one more question. What is the role of Senior Citizen Club for healthy mental health?
So if you would have looked at one of the slides when I was talking about the elder perceptions about their problems, one of the things that they had identified is no defined roles. This is where I think the senior citizens clubs come into role. It gives them a platform where they can meet people with the same backgrounds, with the same social situations, where they can develop a sense of purpose and a social net, which can give them relevance.
Yeah, and we can give more responsibility to them so that their self-esteem will also increase.
Yes.
Yeah. And last question is for both of you. What are the tips for healthy aging?
What are the
tips for healthy aging? Healthy aging.
Healthy aging.
Yeah.
I think the best tip is acceptance, being active, interactive, and taking care of your medical morbidities.
Yeah, Amar sir, any more tips?
Yes, absolutely. For healthy aging, actually, we have to think, we have to plan, and we are in the modern age. So we have to plan for the future. Like currently, the older people, they are unable to take the decision how to treat the person, like if they want, if they are having ventilation or other things. So current scenario, we can plan our last things also. So that everything, your documentation, your finances, your responsibility on somebody who will take care when you are ill or unable to take any decisions. These all things you have to take clear cut. Also, your goals in your life. You should start completing the things like if you want to go somewhere, you have to meet somewhere. So everything will be accomplished, and there should be feeling of accomplishment. Okay? Sometimes at this level, if you feel accomplished, you will be very happy in the older age, so that the other medical condition like hypertension, BP, comorbidities also will go down. The happiness is the most important thing, and it gets when you get everything accomplished. So start doing that things, and slowly be active in the later ages. Yes.
आता आपण मराठीत म्हणतो की जीवन सार्थक झालं पाहिजे.
Yes.
आणि आयुष्याच्या संध्याकाळी दोनच गोष्टी महत्वाच्या असतात. लोक विचारतात की मुलं बरी आहेत का, मुलं सेटल झाली आहेत का, आणि तब्येत चांगली आहे का. या दोनच गोष्टी महत्वाच्या. Thank you very much, Dr. Ninad and Dr. Amar, for your lucid presentation. It was a very good academic presentation also. I thank you once again from team PPA and IPS Pune branch. I also thank all seniors, PPA members, IPS Pune branch members, and all the delegates for active participation in this program. I thank Dr. Anirban Mitra, Dr. Bilal Sisgar, Dr. Shruti Shettigar, Dr. Mahesh, Mr. Mahesh Apar, Mr. Anupam Biswas from the center for being academic partner in this program. They are working very hard and arranging all the technical things in a very professional way. Thank you once again, and over to Shruti for her final remarks.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we are not the doctors. We are the fan of the doctors present here.
Yes, sir.
In a flow, I call everyone doctor.
So, first of all, I would like to thank IPS Pune branch and IPS and PPA Pune branch for once again showing the faith in us and giving Centaur again this opportunity to host such youth stalwarts of psychiatry world. For this Dr. Ninad Baste sir and Dr. Amar Shinde sir for such an amazing and interesting presentation. Definitely thank you for throwing some light on the predicaments and the troubles of a forgotten generation and helping us to get again resensitized to their needs and emotions. So that was really amazing. I would also like to thank the medical fraternity for attending today's session. I hope you got lots of learnings from today's expert session, which will be helpful for your future endeavors. And we at Centaur will always be your trusted scientific partner. Keep bringing you such amazing educational programs in future. Do keep giving us your prescription support, as Centaur is India's #1 psychotropic API manufacturer and second largest in the world, which brings Centopam, which contains export quality escitalopram 5, 10, 20 mg tablets to bring back the essence of life in your depressed patients. We also have Centopam Plus, which is combination of escitalopram 10 mg plus clonazepam 0.5 mg tablets. So once again, I thank everyone for attending today's session. So this is Shruti Shettigar, representing the marketing team from Centaur Pharmaceuticals, signing off for tonight. Have a very great night and take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, because you matter to us. So good night. Thank you.
Thank you, doctors, for your wonderful support and wonderful sessions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you, sir.